said that only teenagers could read young adult books. No matter your age, here are my most cherished young adult romantasy stories. You won't want to miss them. But before we continue, help me make more episodes. How? Buy me a coffee to support my small channel. Let's keep the book talk going. My first choice is a book I haven't found in physical form in any library I've visited. Well, at least not written in English. No to libraries, we need Hush Hush in your catalog. Yes, Hush Hush by Becca Fitzpatrick is a masterpiece. You'll dive into a world of dark angels and Nephilim. I have to say, now that I think about it, it's been some time since I've seen these creatures front and center in stories. I love Fae, but maybe, hey others, can we bring back some biblical beings? With all due respect to religion, there's something captivating about this power struggle between heaven and hell, the rules of both kingdoms, and those as fallen angels who seek to defy the norm. In this book, you'll meet Nora, a regular girl minding her own business at school, never one to care about boys. Then Patch comes into the picture. Like flies to honey, she's drawn to this mysterious guy whose eyes seem to read directly into her soul. Passion and danger collide. Her simple life might not be as simple as she thought. And unbeknownst to her, there's a battle of immortals going on that could put her existence in jeopardy. A war of secrets and attraction. So Hush Hush is actually the first book of a series named the same. It's complete and it comprises 4 books. As I said, you'll see fallen angels, those who were banned from heaven. Then you'll have archangels enforcing heaven's rules, and also Nephilim, these tall and powerful creatures born from the union of those fallen immortals and humans, an abomination to some. The events happen in Earth, but there's obviously a society of fantastical creatures living inconspicuously among humans. There are the rules of heaven and hell, the judges, the enforcers, and those who love to disobey. As the story progresses, Nora will discover all these secrets and more. You'll be immersed in a war involving betrayals, conspiracies, mystery, despair, and a lot of danger. It will be difficult for her to decide who to trust. Also, a forbidden love will get in the way, providing you with some sweet and painful scenes. I love this series and I can't recommend it enough. If you haven't read young adult books, afraid they won't be deep enough, or romantic enough, or whatever enough, check this series out. Moving on, it's time for another great writer, Tomi Adeyemi, and her book Children of Blood and Bone. By the way, this is being adapted to the big screens, so you can already tell it's a really good story. She transports us into the world of the Orishas. I'm not very familiar with this divine cult, but you may have heard it as something popular in Brazil, for example. As far as I understand, they are African deities or divine spirits. So you see, only with this bit of information, you have to give it points to Adeyemi for bringing us a different culture into literature, one I'll venture to say not many have probably heard about. In her world, magic has disappeared, but there are those who still remember its influence and power. Now though, the king has decided to annihilate the magic. There's hope at the hands of Silly. There's vengeance in her heart and power in her veins. She'll set out on a dangerous adventure to prevent the prince from eradicating magic completely off their lands, reinstating it if it's possible, and supposedly lead a rebellion. However, she might be getting some feelings for her enemy. When the time comes, what will lead her hand? Zilly is a well-built character, a young lady with claws and bravery. Her journey will take us to fantastical places and amazing magic. There'll be treachery. There'll be attraction. There'll be something more in this department. I won't say more to avoid spoilers. And of course, expect incredible twists. It's just a well-written trilogy because yes, Children of Blood and Bone is the first book of the Legacy of Orisha series, already completed. If finished series is what you like, here you have another one, this time a duology. Let me introduce you to Sands of Arawiya by Hafsat Faisal and the first book titled We Hunt the Flame. You know, when you read a book and no matter how many years go by, it's still rounded in your head? Well, this is one of those. In We Hunt the Flame, we have a huntress disguised as a hunter. Because you see, as in the previous book I discussed, the magic has also abandoned these lands. So, the weather has gotten harsher and people are struggling to survive. Safira must disguise her appearance if she wants to provide food for her small town. Funny enough, she's a well-known character, famous even, as not many venture into the cursed forest. Soon, she's given a mission. They are trying to restore magic, but she's not the only one journeying in this treacherous quest. Nasir, son of the Sultan and known as the Prince of Death, is sent after her. Nevertheless, neither of them imagined everything they would encounter in this adventure. Moreover, it seems they won't only have to battle against each other, but also against their heart's desires. In this story, you'll find an intriguing world, each population with its own qualities and struggles. There's darkness growing, battles that might seem lost, characters defying their society's beliefs and expectations. You'll encounter multiple fights and dangerous situations, even death. The romantic scenes are not very predominant, but those present, especially by the end, are quite memorable. I guess that's what happens when you join two fighters who are not accustomed to putting themselves first. All in all, it's a cute story full of adventure and mystery. What about Fae now? I said before I love Fae, and if there's a fantastical creature you can find in books, it's the Fae. I didn't realize until now that all the books I brought you this time are all part of finished series. Why is this relevant? Because Romantasy is very much about endless series. So it's not easy to find good standalones or stories you can binge read without having to wait a year for its sequel. You're welcome. Enjoy! So let's talk about The Cruel Prince. You may have heard me referencing this book in previous videos, because yes, it's a favorite of mine. Holly Black has knitted a macabre story of prophecies, curses, multiple enemies, hate, love, and everything in between. I don't think I've read a book with such a variety of fantastical creatures, and that it makes sense, because it's not a mumble-jumble of characters put together for the sake of adding stuff. It's a very coherent fairy world, and in this world, Jude and Carden are the protagonists. The first a human, the second a royal fae. In Elfheim, those two creatures don't go together, hence the enemies and hate-to-love relationship they'll develop. Their interactions are so entertaining, the romantic moments are a treasure. And all the while, there's a conspiracy and a struggle for power they'll be forced to navigate together to stay alive and thrive. They are one of those literary couples you'll stay with. I don't want to repeat myself too much, so if you haven't yet, go and check out my video with my Romantasy Essentials to get more details on this book. Now, before we keep exploring book recommendations, let me tell you something. When I review and rate a book, I use a scale from 1 to 5. That said, I rarely give 5 stars because for me, those are books that have an extra it factor difficult to achieve. They've gone like an extra mile in terms of storytelling. Well, guess what? The next book has gotten into my 5-star club. It's a book or series even my husband, who's probably more into non-fiction books, have read and loved. Lo and behold, it's The Prison Healer by Lynette Noni. You don't know how excited I get every time I see a person talking or recommending this book. I believe it's so underrated, and honestly, it should be in everyone's radar. This masterpiece starts inside a prison, but Zalendov is not a regular prison. This is a death trap no one has ever been able to escape, and the main character, Ziva, has lived there almost all her life. She was taken there together with her father, and after he passed away, she took the job of prison healer. This position is quite a luxury, and for such she has gained a lot of enemies. One day, after the rebel king is captured, Ziva is charged of taking care of her. Now, this queen is very close to death's door, and as her punishment, she must undergo the trial by ordeal, which is a series of tasks with elemental magic very impossible to succeed at. Ziva receives a secret message to not let her die, but she's sure that's what will happen if she participates in these trials. So Ziva decides to volunteer in her place. If she manages, both the queen and herself will be free. She might have some cards under her sleeve, friends and allies willing to help her out. We'll see. Now, outside the prison, there's turmoil and uncertainty, a rebellion underway, and other things brewing unrest. This is a story with a lot of action, unexpected and magnificent twists, and a more predominant fantasy side, although there's a romantic relationship as well. It's a puzzle where all the pieces fit beautifully. I guarantee you'll connect emotionally with everything that goes on. Cry, feel pain, being heartbroken or anxious. You'll probably even fight with the characters. I won't say much more because when you have a gem, it shines on its own. So we've mentioned angels, fae, magic wielders, and we're missing some very mythical creatures predominant in Romantasy, the vampire and the shifter. It turns out they're both present in the next book recommendation, Twilight. I feel Stephanie Meyer's series has a lot of its fame because maybe of the movies, but come on, this is a classic. And if you haven't read the books, you should, because they're well written. Don't even compare them to the movies. What I find interesting about Twilight, first, is version of vampires. I think Meyer gave a huge contribution to what we conceive nowadays as a vampire. This creature started as a more animalistic thing in Dracula, for instance. Then, Anne Rice gave it a conscience, ethics, and a more defined existence. Meyer makes them more human if you wish, or at least opens this possibility of coexisting with humans in a closer way. Adds powers or features that weren't exactly used before. And from there, we've seen such a wide range of powers, characteristics, and versions of vampires in literature, we could be talking about this forever. Going back to Twilight, this was a book I used to read once every year. I think it was mainly because of Edward Cullen. This mix of Jane Austen's gentleman in his behavior, manners, and way of expressing together with the touch of modernity captivates me. It's having a Mr. Knightley in the present. I don't say Mr. Darcy because their personalities don't match much. In this book, you find Bella, a human who falls in love with a vampire. A complicated and dangerous union, a secret now uncovered that can result in catastrophic results. And so, it does. She's Edward's drug, but can they actually be together? Bring a shifter into the mix and the love triangle gets tricky. For some though, love is stronger than anything, so they may find a way for everything to work out at the end. This is a sweet, passionate romance, sometimes catastrophic and with a lot of teen angst. There are interesting twists and surprises and a lot of action. I know the romantasy genre has grown a lot over the years, and we have now a mountain of books. But hey, let's not forget about the predecessors. I can't obviously say this for sure, but who knows, maybe books like Twilight open up the gate for series like ACOTAR and others we now have. Biblical creatures define the rules of heaven and hell. Africa's influence in a unique system of magic and culture-enriched story. A huntress defying her man's world to restore magic and more. Our beloved Fae bringing violence, cruelty, intrigue, and cunning strategizing to the mix. A masterpiece of fiction, storytelling, and twists. To end with the mythical vampires and shifters in their usual fight with a human that wants to cross all the lines in their worlds. Hope you've enjoyed these young adult book recommendations. Which are you going to pick to start reading? Tell me everything. I'll be more than happy to read your comments in the section below. Thanks for watching. See you soon!